Good morning, friends. In the last video, we have seen the wireless data network. In this video, we are going to talk about the ubiquitous network. So the different ubiquitous network. So we have already covered some of the examples of pervasive networks, like mobile telecommunication networks, such as global system for mobile communication. Then UMTS, that is Universal Mobile Telecommunication System. We have also seen some of the wireless data network, like uh, wireless local area network, then Wi-Fi, WiMAX, Bluetooth, Zigbee, infrared, so on and so forth. So in addition to this, we will try to cover some of the ubiquitous networks such as power line communication, personal area network, body area network, and the mobile user network. So this is the picture of the pervasive or the ubiquitous telecommunication network, and you can see that this is basically a internetworking of different telecommunication network which forms the pervasive telecommunication network. You can see that this is the basically a public switch telephone network which has the fixed access node. Then this is ADCL network, asynchronous digital subscriber line network, which is connected to a PSTN. Then we have the mobile telecommunication network, which is connected to this core packet switch network. So altogether, when we connect these different networks together, it will form the internetwork. Now, we'll see what is the ubiquitous, what is the challenges to the ubiquitous wireless network. Now, we know that the use of wireless network, it supports the ubiquitous access. However, there are several issues that makes this challenging. From the signal attenuation characteristics, it also affects the ubiquitous access. For an example, the frequency range used by the satellite GPS, which leads to a significant attenuation by the buildings, and thus it prevents the use of its use for position determination indoors. Second, there are many wireless network which uses the transmitter that have limited range. So the adjacent wireless network and the transmitter that supports the same service can use the different frequencies. They may use the different code division or time division multiplexing techniques, which prevents the different sources at the same frequency from interfering with each other. So this means that the user who roam between the adjacent transmitter, he or she needs to use the receivers that are designed to switch the frequency as one signal fades and another one becomes stronger. So it's something like that. If the signal of one base station, if it deteriorates, then the user should be transparently switch over to the another base station which has the stronger signal strength. So often these frequencies may be allocated to the service provider at some different level. The third challenge is the power consumption must be considered. So wireless terminals may be able to use anywhere where the wireless transmission can be sent and received. But if a mobile wireless terminal runs out of power, it cannot send or receive. So it must be plugged into a power outlet if available for the later use. The another challenge is, unlike wired network, wireless network are not so easily contained within a defined boundary. It is inherently easier to unpredict, or you can say that for freeloaders to access, unless the network had some security. So the nature of network is unpredictable, which is sometimes referred as eavesdropping. Now, wireless network, particularly the wireless local area network, which use the unlicensed frequency band such as 802.11 as the efficient use of radio frequency spectrum, uh, which is we can consider it as a limiting factor. Then the last challenge to the pervasive wireless network is interference of radio resources such as microwave food heating devices, which may appear at any time and they are unavoidable. So this creates the contention problems and reduces the throughput. So these are some challenges to the pervasive or ubiquitous wireless network. Now let us move to the first ubiquitous wireless network, which is nothing but power line communication. So power line communication, it is an alternative way to ubiquitously access the data and audio video content. So wherever there is an electricity power line connection, it can be used as a channel to communicate the data and audio video content. So we are using the electricity infrastructure to transmit the data or the audio video content. So PLC describes PLC, which stands for power line communication, which describes a range of system for using the electricity distribution wires for the simultaneous transmission of data. So here the carrier can communicate the voice and data by modulating the signal over the standard of 50 to 60 gigahertz alternating current. So there are some other situations where the electricity network can be used to provide the internet content, which includes electric vehicle that maintains the permanent contact to an overhead, or it may be underfoot electricity supply, for example, which may be used for the examples of this is the electric trains, electric buses, and the trams, so on. So this is all about the power line communication. Now let us move to the next type of ubiquitous network, which is called as the wireless personal area network. So wireless personal area network, which have been specified by the IEEE 802.15 standard. So wireless personal area network is normally confined to a person or an object that typically extends up to 10 meters in all directions, and then eventually it envelopes two or more objects or person, doesn't matter whether they are stationary or they are in motion. So the wireless local area network standard was initially considered for personal area network, but later on it was dropped uh, because of its higher power requirement and its higher network management overhead. So Bluetooth, Zigbee and infrared, these are some examples of system that can be used to implement the personal area network. And the typical applications of personal area network, which includes multi-network phone, which depending on the network access, such as intercom, cordless phone, or the cell phone. Other application is mobile internet access on the move. The next is interactive local conferencing to instantly exchange the information. The very widely used application of personal area network is the hands-free headset to communicate and control the voice. And finally, the automatic synchronization of information for the mobile user. So these are some typical applications of personal area network. Now, we'll move to the next type of ubiquitous or the pervasive network, that is the body area network. So a body area network or BAN, it consists of a set of mobile and compact intercommunicating sensors that are either variable or implanted into the human bodies. So a typical BAN application can monitor the vital body parameters or important body parameters and the movements, and then store them in a device on the body for later upload and analysis purpose. And also it periodically transmits the data in real time using some external network interface. So in 2006, the system was introduced for the simultaneous acquisition of electric brain activity, electrical cardiac activity, and electrical muscle activity, which performs the transmission of this signal wirelessly to the base station. Now, can we use the Bluetooth or Zigbee in the body area network? And the answer to this question is the Bluetooth and Zigbee cannot meet the combined wireless body area network power and data requirement, and hence Bluetooth and Zigbee, they cannot be used to implement the body area network. Okay, now the Zimmermann in 1996, he distinguishes the near field, that is capacitive and inductive electric field effects, and the far field, that is the radio communication effects in a personal area network. So far field communication is more unpredictable and undesirable because it get interfere. That's the reason the far field is not more considered in comparison with the near field. So now the near field communication has the propagation properties which are more powerful as compared to the far field properties. So an isotropic radio transmitter which propagates the energy with the signal strength that decreases with the distance which is squared in a far field transmission, whereas the near field strength decreases with the distance cubed. And thus the near field communication can operate at much lower frequency, like the range is between 0.1 to 1 megahertz. In contrast to this near field communication, the far field is generated directly from inexpensive microcontrollers. So the design issue in using the near field versus the far field effects for the physical media communication in personal area network is also a design issue for passive RFID tag which are attached to the physical objects. So Zimmermann has proposed the use of electronic devices which are connected as a part of near field body area network, which can exchange the digital information by capacitively coupling the picoamp current through the body. So a low frequency carrier which is less than 1 megahertz, it was used so that the no energy was propagated, and thereby we are minimizing or we are reducing the interference of neighboring body area network. So Zimmermann has daemon has a daemon started a near field body area network system which exchanges the business card via handshake, which is shown in this figure. So this is all about the additional 3 types of ubiquitous network in contrast to the mobile communication network and the wireless network. Still there is one ubiquitous network type is remain, that is the mobile user network, that I will try to cover in the next video. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please click on the like button. So your small appreciation will help me. Thanks a lot for patiently listening this video. In the next video, we'll discuss on the last ubiquitous network, that is mobile user network. Thank you. Thanks a lot.